Welcome into Between the Pylons. I'm John Camacho. I messed that up. Thank you so much for watching. This is Between the Pylons. I totally messed up that intro. We're going to keep it going here. Guys, we have an absolutely awesome show for you today. We are going to be talking about the insane news that has come out over the past week regarding DeShaun Watson and the Texans. We're going to talk about the Philadelphia Eagles firing their head coach Pederson just 3 years after winning the Super Bowl with a backup quarterback. We are going to touch on the college football playoffs that happened last night. We were recording this on Tuesday. It'll come out either Wednesday night or Thursday afternoon. And then we're going to finish the show off, talk about the remaining playoff games, 8 teams left, divisional round, 2 on Sunday, 2 on Saturday. We're going to break those down pretty quickly. We're not going to go super in depth because we got a lot to talk about. But let's get started here with DeShaun Watson and the Texans, right? And what I wanted to do with this, because there's so much going on, and you and I have talked about this pretty significantly. It's one of those things when news hits on a Wednesday for us, it's always the worst because we record on a Tuesday.
And we just missed it.
And it's one of those weird things where sometimes news will hit and it'll affect the podcast that we haven't even put out yet that we recorded a day before. Unfortunately, it kind of happened this week, although not too bad. We had a conversation about last week about how desirable the Texans' job is. Got to say, as a head coach, not super desirable right now.
Not right now,
especially considering you don't know what's going to happen with DeShaun Watson. So instead of just breaking down our raw reactions, I wanted to go back and put out a timeline. So here it is. We're going to go through. Let's start April 17th, 2020. That's the DeAndre Hopkins trade. DeAndre Hopkins is essentially traded for a second-round pick. I mean, you can add the bells and whistles to that trade, but essentially traded to the Cardinals for a 7th-round pick. DeAndre Hopkins was reportedly very upset about that. Found out while he was training with his quarterback coach on social media, had gotten no prior warning or anything like that. There was actually a tweet that went out from the QB coach of his reaction on Twitter, reading it as it was happening. It was deleted very quickly afterwards, but you can go find that if you go looking for it. Fast forward to September 5th, 2020, DeAndre Hopkins signs a 4-year extension. He had 2 years left on his rookie deal, signs the 4-year extension worth $160 million, becomes the second highest paid quarterback behind my boy Mahomes over here. Yeah. Great deal. Honestly, got what he's worth, right? I think we would both agree with that. October 5th, we're going to fast forward again. October 5th, this is right after they lost their 4th consecutive game of the season, lost to the Vikings by 8 points. Billy O'Brien is fired on October 5th, and I think that did have a lot to do with Watson and the rest of the team just really getting tired of their head coach. Fast forward again, and this is an interesting one, and I think this is something that not a lot of people are really talking about, but December 14th, 2020 is when a PFT report came out that Watson would be consulted with the next head coach and next GM. And I'm going to read to you, because I was looking at this quote a little bit earlier, I'm going to read to you the quote from DeShaun Watson and another quote from the article that basically I think is the precedence for why Watson has so much of a right to be upset. So right here it says, I mean, they just put a lot of trust in me and what things he wants and what I want. And just as a whole, as an organization, where we want to go forward from here, Watson said to the Houston Chronicle. We've got to make decisions and go from here. But yeah, that was pretty much it. A lot of respect between me and Mr. McNair. Okay, so that's what Watson said about this conversation. A quote from the article: McNair has made it clear to his quarterback that Watson's opinions matter when it comes to hiring the next head coach and hiring the next GM. And I want to pause there just for a second, because I do think that is a precedent to be upset, because in my personal opinion, a player does not have the right to decide who the next head coach is. A player does not have the right to decide who the next GM is. But if you tell him he's going to be a part of the conversation,
that's what I was about to say,
and don't make him part of the conversation, you have a right to be upset. If I tell you, hey, I'm gonna write an outline for this show, I want you to look at it and let me know what you like and don't like, and I never send you that outline, I never let you decide what's on the show, do you have a right to be upset?
Yeah, exactly.
Absolutely. Yeah. Expand that by about 1,000 in an NFL team. Yeah. I think that is an absolute fair reason. I am not a proponent of the players deciding their next head coach. Not at all. That's not what this article said. That's not what was ever said. But it was made clear that he would at least have a voice that his voice would be considered. Not that he was making a decision.
I think that's smart, because if you know that you just paid your generational franchise quarterback, this is the guy that you were sticking with for the long term, he needs to, like you said, not choose it, not pull the LeBron James basketball and make all the moves.
Yeah.
But he does need to be in the room
Yeah.
and have his input felt. And it's a slap in the face.
Yeah. So that happens December 14th. Let's fast forward to January 7th of 2021. That's when the Texans hire Nick Caserio. Now, this is a candidate that they tried to hire a couple years ago out of the Patriots organization. That didn't happen for legal reasons, and that's a whole other thing that we're not going to get into today. But that same day, reports start surfacing that Watson found out on social media again. Remember, and on April 17th, he found out on social media about his biggest and best weapon being traded. And then he finds out again on social media that a GM has been hired, and the names that he gave, and this is all according to Adam Schefter, the names that he gave the organization that he would like to at least be consulted or considered for the job were not consulted, were not considered. They were not even a part of the conversation. And actually, Cal McNair and Bob McNair, the owner and CEO of the Texans, they made this decision despite what the search committee or whatever suggestions gave. That's a whole other thing. Another report comes out the same day that Ian Rappaport says that Watson was extremely unhappy. So, multiple reports coming out that he's upset, that Eric Bieniemy was the top choice for Watson and the team. And you got to remember, Watson has always stated throughout this entire thing that he speaks for himself and also the team. He feels like he's the leader of the team and he speaks for the team. So that's constantly brought up throughout this whole process. Eric Bieniemy had not been granted an interview until today. As of recording this, on January 12th, they gave him an interview almost a week after this whole thing. And the fact that Eric Bieniemy isn't at the top of your interview list is insulting, wrong, disrespectful.
It's at best.
I absolutely agree. All right, so fast forward 2 more days. January 10th, 2021. Chris Mortensen reports that that DeShaun Watson would waive his no trade clause in his contract to be dealt to the Dolphins in exchange for Tua and obviously some other picks. Yeah, look, we had a conversation when that report came out. I was very happy as a Dolphins fan. I know I'm wearing Chiefs gear right now, but that's because the Chiefs and Browns play this week. But as a Dolphins fan, I was ecstatic. I was very excited about that. We're going to get into that in a second, but it's just another thing. Before then, for like 3 days between the 7th and 10th, everyone was kind of like, man, is he going to get traded? Everyone's like, oh shit, could this actually happen? Like these rumors started to appear. It started to become clear, like serious issues. It's almost a year now of the organization disrespecting DeShaun Watson in DeShaun Watson's eyes. All right. And I'll, in my personal opinion, disrespecting DeShaun Watson. I'll say that. Yeah. Let's get your thoughts, and then I want to add one more thing to this timeline at the very end. But just your thoughts on what's going on right now.
Man, I mean, there's been a lot of times that I feel like the Texans organization as a whole has pissed off its players. Let's go back, I think maybe 2 years ago, to where they had a Halloween party and the owner showed up dressed as a what's it called? A prison owner.
A ward?
Oh, yeah, dressed up as a warden.
Okay.
And it really pissed off Jadeveon Clowney.
Yeah.
I remember that report coming in particular that Jadeveon felt like, oh, you're showing up acting like we're your prisoners. That
and I know you didn't read this because I specifically left this out of the rundown for because I wanted to kind of surprise you and get your raw reaction to this. But that feeds into exactly what my next point is. Another thing that Chris Mortensen said on the 10th was that he is also upset about the insensitivity to social justice issues. Yeah. And that brings me back to another date, October 27th, 2017. The owner of the Texans, Bob McNair, his quote that became very popular, "We can't have the inmates running the prison."
Yeah, and that adds up to him showing up and dressing up as a warden to a Halloween
you
party.
Mentioned the insensitivities. I'm mentioning the quote that just went viral, and he did end up apologizing, and he claimed that he was talking about other things or whatever. So there's another side to that story. But there is certainly a narrative that, and I'm not going to accuse anybody of anything. I don't think it's fair for somebody who's never met the dude or anything like that to make serious accusations. But there is certainly a narrative that can be spun that there's some serious racial issues with the ownership. Listen, is that fair to say?
It's a shitty analogy.
It is.
That's even if you're on Bob McNair's side. It's like, man, if you're trying to make a comparison, like I see what he is saying, not dissecting that analogy alone. But, you're saying that you are the owner. You can't have every single player's voice be 100% because it just doesn't work like that. There's no way. That's impossible.
Yeah.
say it like that, man. Don't say we can't have the inmates running the prison, as in these guys are jailed and stuck under your leadership.
Add to the fact that up until today, up until serious backlash, and in my opinion, really only interviewing him to appease their star quarterback, they weren't willing to even interview what I would argue is the most highly qualified guy for the next head coaching position, who just happens to be African American. It's alarming to me in a lot of different ways. I want to leave it there because I don't want to get into a situation where I'm speculating on serious issues that are outside my right to speculate. So I'll leave it there. But needless to say, a ton of issues. I do believe there is more than just what's being reported. I do believe there's some serious concerns in that locker room. Whether they're founded or not, I think they're there, and I think they're very real.
I'll go as far to say that if they don't get Bieniemy, I think Watson's gone.
Yeah, I think that's a fair point.
And here's the other thing. I don't think they're getting Bieniemy. Yeah. Because I don't think that if you have your initial head coach search, Bieniemy's not on that list. Like you said, the jersey you're wearing, the most prolific, electric offense we have seen since probably the show on turf in the 2000s. I mean, this is something electric, and Bieniemy is well known by all the players on building a culture in a locker room. Yeah. That's who your star franchise quarterback wants to at least receive due process interview, and you don't give it. Man, now you're just doing it to the point just to shut Watson up. That's what you're doing.
Yeah, no, I absolutely agree. You waited too long. Yeah. I mean, and the thing is...
Well, it's too little, too late.
Too little, too late. And also, it's COVID. It's a fucking Zoom call. It's a Zoom conversation. Seriously. For a couple hours. You couldn't spend a couple hours interviewing the top candidate, according to everybody, the top candidate who was the top candidate last year and got passed over, and who's the top candidate this year. Just absolutely ridiculous.
The weird thing is how highly sought after Bieniemy is,
and how easy
and they're just like, nah, we're good.
Ridiculous to me. That's one thing. Now let's get into trade talk. All right, and I want to start here because I think it's fair to say I know how we feel about this.
Yes,
there is no asking price that is enough to trade DeShaun Watson. In my personal opinion, I'll speak for me. I think he's a borderline top 3 quarterback in the NFL. Statistically, he's the best quarterback in the NFL, and I think at the very least, even if you don't agree with top 3, he's top 5. Like at the bottom, the bottom end of your he's top 5 quarterback in the NFL, period. You don't trade a franchise quarterback. I don't care what the contract, I don't care about anything like that. If DeShaun Watson gets traded, it's because DeShaun Watson forced his way out of Houston. That could happen. That could seriously happen. And when these reports first came out, I thought there was no fucking way. And now I still think it's only like a 10, 15% chance, but it could certainly happen. All right. So I want to set that there. Okay. So let's set aside. Okay. We don't think it's going to happen. Do you think it's going to happen? Let's start there.
I mean, I went as far to say that if they don't get Bieniemy, I think that Watson is going to be upset enough.
You think there's a real good chance.
I think Watson's own personal interests are leading him away from the Texans. Yeah. He may have his agent step up and try to steer him. Well, the agent, Watson itself, I feel like wants out, man.
This you mentioned the agent. This is another thing that I found in my research, and I didn't put it in there because I was kind of going on a timeline thing. But the agent is the same agent who represented. I'm sorry, I lost the word. Represented Ramsey. Jalen Ramsey, who sat out and moved on. The agent is not averse, at least from history, is not averse from saying, "Hey, we're willing to hold out. We're willing to do things." That's what I was going to
get into is that we have seen young star players, Jalen Ramsey, Khalil Mack, one of them, like certain guy, Jadeveon wanted out because of the issues going on inside the organization.
Mika Fitzpatrick,
stars force themselves out of situations when they want to, but we haven't seen
a star quarterback.
Quarterback
that already got paid. I mean, it's pretty insane, right? So
it would be groundbreaking.
It would be groundbreaking. In my opinion, it would be the craziest trade to ever happen in NFL history.
Wow.
I do believe that. All right, so let's talk about the control that DeShaun Watson has. There is a no trade clause in his contract. All right, this no trade clause pretty much gives him final say. If the Texans just theoretically tried to trade Watson to the Jets and Watson didn't
say no,
Watson can just say no. Period. It's the end of the conversation. He can say no, and he can still fucking hold out. So he has a lot of power right now. And now, when you talk about assets, when you talk about teams, and I know I'm a Dolphins fan, I know where we're about to go with this. When you talk about teams that have assets, there are 3 teams in the NFL with multiple first-round picks. They just happen to be drafting first, second, and third. All right. Jaguars are probably out because they're going to take Lawrence, right? Realistically, they're going to take Lawrence. The Jets and the Dolphins are the only teams that have a quarterback that you can conceivably trade to Like you could conceivably trade Bradford. Not Bradford. Sam Darnold. I don't know why I always say Bradford for Sam Darnold. Where you could conceivably trade Sam Darnold and some picks and maybe get Watson in return. And you can conceivably trade Tua and some picks. The Jets do not look like a very likely landing spot, because why would Watson want to go from the Texans to the Jets? That makes no sense.
Worst to worst.
The Dolphins, of those three teams that have multiple first round picks and a quarterback that could conceivably traded, were a 10-win team last year. They only have the third pick because they have the Texans' original third pick in the draft. So they'd be trading back the pick that was originally the Texans. That's just the icing on the cake. The Dolphins have the 3rd, 18th, 35th pick. They have Tua, who was a top 5 quarterback last year, who, he struggled this year at points, but he also showed some things that you think you could build upon. There are reports from Matt Miller specifically that I know I've seen. I'm sure other people have corroborated this, that the new GM for the Texans, Nick Caserio, was very, very high on Tua coming out last year. That was his favorite quarterback coming out. He was obviously not in a position to draft him being with the Patriots, but if he had to, the theory is that if he had to get rid of Watson, getting Tua would be the next best thing in his eyes. Look, I think it's fair to say there is no other team that has the assets to trade for Watson other than the Dolphins, realistically. Yeah, there's no other team that has more assets.
Because you were throwing the Jets up there, and I was like, man, the Jets sorta. Listen, 1, Deshaun's not going to go there.
Yeah.
2, I don't think Darnold and the 2 touch it. They don't touch it. The Dolphins are the ones who truly have, with Caserio being tied to being high on Tua.
Yeah.
So that would essentially say that he is evaluating Tua as, let's just say, a top 10 overall first rounder.
Yeah.
So you were trading that Tua. You were trading your first, you were trading your late first, and 2 seconds is what I've seen rumored.
Wow, that's a lot. No, that is a lot, but that's a lot. That's the slant. Yeah.
Oh, well, I'm sure that's what the Texans are saying.
That's the Texans.
And then the Dolphins would argue and say you get the 3, 18, and 35 or whatever it is.
Well, you could do. I think the argument for Dolphins, or the argument for me, I'll say for me, is the Dolphins can offer something that no other team can offer. We can offer the 3rd and Tua. All right, that already is a better starting point than any other team can give.
It's true.
On top of the fact that there's only a certain number of teams that Watson's going to be willing to go to. In my list, this is the list that I would think if Watson is leaving the Texans and he says, "Hey, I get to waive the no trade clause to go to these teams," I think it would be the Dolphins, Patriots, 49ers, Colts, or Saints.
I agree.
I think those are the obvious. And we can look at the names. I don't think there's anybody else. We talked about it before we got on the air. I think we both agree on that. So of those 5 teams, Dolphins have more value than any other team can offer.
Man, no other team can honestly come close to that.
So what I'm saying,
ludicrous first round.
So exactly. Yeah. So what I'm saying is, the Dolphins don't have to offer 4 or 5 picks plus Tua to get Watson. If Watson wants to go and he wants to go to Miami, who, by the way, if some of the other things that I've theorized are about, Dolphins have, one of I think the best young and upcoming head coaches, African-American, Flores. We have our GM is also African-American. So I would think that is enticing to Watson as well, from a, sense that he's going from a franchise that has been rumored to not be forward thinking to a franchise that's clearly, I would say, forward thinking, based on everything the owner's done and, who we've hired. I think we've shown that we're a forward thinking franchise. Yeah. So I think that's fair to say.
So you're saying, from a Dolphin standpoint, play hardball in hopes that Watson could be the ultimate trade decider here. Like Jalen Ramsey. Jalen Ramsey said, "Listen, I'm not playing.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. You can keep me if you want. That's cool. I'll hit free agency.
Yeah.
No problem." Deshaun's in a little bit of a different stance with the contract in itself, but Texans, you gain no value from having Deshaun sit, whereas if you evaluate any other team out there, the closest thing that gets it done is the Dolphins.
Yeah, and I don't think it takes 2 firsts and 2 seconds. And by the way, as a Dolphins fan, I'll trade 2 firsts and 2 seconds.
Yeah, I think
I would. I don't think he'll take it, but I would.
If Deshaun didn't want to go, I think it would take that much value.
Okay, so
but Deshaun is the ultimate factor in saying, "Hey, Texans, fuck y'all. I want out no matter what." If that is in alliance with what the Dolphins want to do in lowballing an offer, man, you'll take what you can get.
Yeah, and by the way,
what can you do?
The 3rd pick in the draft and a quarterback that I would think the Texans believe can be a good starting quarterback in the NFL. it's not a terrible offer. I mean, it's a low ball offer for Watson, but let's go in this a different direction. Yeah. I'm as a Dolphins fan, I am of the strong opinion that you do whatever it takes to take Watson. Now, when you get into future picks, I'm going to start having questions, but I would trade every pick in this draft class for DeShaun Watson. I would. And tell me why I'm wrong, because I know you disagree with this.
Yeah, I'll tell you why you're wrong, because let me paint you this picture of what you have with these picks and how can you say no to what you got going. So Tua, rocky start. Yeah. There has been moments of promise.
But go ahead. I want to preface this by saying this is in the scenario that we can get Watson. As a Dolphins fan, I'm very happy with where we are, and I'm very happy with what we can do with these picks. So I think I'm going to agree with what you're saying. But continue.
Okay, I'll start off this. For one, do you think you're a quarterback away? Are you a DeShaun Watson away from a legitimate competing with the Chiefs, the Ravens, the Packers? And if we're in that mindset, I disagree because I think there's a few more years that got to go into that. Immediately, like I would say in 2 to 3 years after building your team up more, then you're ready, but not immediately. But you say you are. So we'll go from there and say that what if you could draft Penei Sewell at 3 overall? What if you could draft, let's say, at 18, CeeDee Lamb went. That was the number 2 wide receiver in the class. Yeah. Let's give you a Jalen Waddle.
Yeah.
Okay, Waddle. So you have Penei Sewell, Jalen Waddle, and you take a Travis Etienne at 35. Because I would say Najee is going to go a little bit before him just because of the performance.
Oh, really? See, I think Etienne's the better running back.
Regardless of the fact, pick your running back. That's what you get at 35 right there.
Yeah.
That addition to what you could add.
Those are big. Those are good pieces for sure.
That's not worth Watson, and that's me making devil's advocate.
Yeah. No, I get what you're saying.
There's also a chance that you come out and you take, someone who just might not hit.
Yeah.
You take that reach.
So here's the argument against that. First of all, the draft is a complete and utter. I mean, it's playing craps.
The only pick that's guaranteed is your top 5.
That's exactly what I was going to say. Our third pick in the draft has serious value because you're not really going to miss with the third pick, and if you do,
it's your job.
Yeah, exactly. So we're probably not going to miss with that pick, and if it is what it is. It can happen for sure. The 18th is, I think, very up and down. You see a lot of 18th picks that hit, a lot of 18th picks that don't. Of course. 35th, you get into the second round, you have guys that should start, that should be good, and a lot of them do. But it's never guaranteed.
Back because it's a day 2 solid.
Now, I absolutely get what you're saying. Me personally, I don't take a running back with any of those picks because I actually really like Myles Gaskins. I think if we add just another dude in the 4th or 5th round to back up Gaskins, I'll be happy with that at the running back position. I do think we need another number 2 receiver. Although I do like our receiving core, I get what you're saying with that, and obviously offensive line. Yeah, Penei Sewell would be amazing.
In the same breath, but Hall of Famers, man.
Yeah. And to think that we traded Tunsil away just to get a Penei Sewell 2 years later when we're ready to be good,
tackle with that same pick
on a cheaper deal. Yeah, that would be awesome, and I don't hate that. This is where I stand with this, and this is where because I've disagreed with a lot of Dolphins fans that are kind of on your side here. I get the value. The value is there, and I'm not going to deny the value. Where I will stand and where I will stay is the Dolphins won 10 games with Fitzpatrick and Tua at the helm. Tua struggled this year. All right, he had good moments for sure, but he was held. I think held back a little bit by the offensive play calling, and I think he was held back a little bit by his own inability to make some plays at times. So that is what it is. He can grow. He can get better. We'll see. But with DeShaun Watson, if I put DeShaun Watson in the 2020 Dolphins lineup for the entire year, I think we win 13 or 14 games. I really believe if we won 10 with Tua and Fitzpatrick, I think we win every other game with Watson plus a couple more. And I think we're in the playoffs, and I think we're in the divisional round.
Okay.
I will.
So that would be y'all facing the Chiefs this go around.
Yeah, I think we'd be. Yeah, I do. I think we'd be.
That's a big step.
I understand that maybe that's bold to say.
No. You're not bold in saying.
I think it's bold.
The difference between you're not.
I'm saying
Tua and Fitzpatrick. There's a difference in 1 or 2 wins between adding DeShaun in that.
Yeah, I think. Yeah, so I'm saying 3 or 4 wins by putting DeShaun in that. Yeah, I think that's fair. And look, a franchise quarterback does not come around all the time. Yeah. You never know what you have until you have it. DeShaun Watson is that. I would be willing to make that trade. Absolutely. I don't think it would cost that much. And I would feel a whole hell of a lot better if it was just 2 firsts and Tua for Watson. And we could essentially have traded Tunsil for Watson straight up. Listen, I am in favor of you keeping your assets because I think you're going in the right direction. You are heading north right now. Yeah.
So why throw a curveball that could derail it? I'm not saying DeShaun could derail. I'm just saying you're going in the right direction.
The difference is where we're going right now. there might be the limit is as far as our quarterback can take us. You put a quarterback that has no limit, and where we're going right now just astronomically improves. Maybe next year isn't as good because we don't have, the top end young talent, but the year after that, we're already a 10-win football team going in the right direction. I believe we have a great GM. I believe we have a great head coach. I believe we have a lot of young talent around. We have a great defense. Put a DeShaun Watson in there who, you can say we don't have a ton of talent on the offense. That's fine. We do have a Devontae Parker who's shown up. We have a Preston Williams who 2 years in a row has gotten injured, which is frustrating. But Preston Williams has been awesome. I mean, he's a great number 2. We have weapons, is what I'm saying. It's not great, and it can get better for sure. But we definitely have weapons, and I definitely believe Watson could win a lot of games in Miami this year. So I think is there anywhere else you want to go with that?
No, it pretty much covered it because, there's a whole other spectrum of teams that he could possibly land at.
Yeah.
The reason we harp on the Dolphins so much is just because when you look at...
I don't see any
That's one thing that I think is being understated is the true value behind having a top 5 quarterback in the NFL.
Yeah.
It is something that franchises try to get for 25 plus years, and they're still not there.
Yeah, look what the Patriots. Look what the Patriots could do with a top 5 quarterback for 20 years in the NFL. It just is what it is.
Look at what the Chiefs are going to be doing. Till we were talking about it the other day. We're in our low 20s right now.
Yeah,
we will be in our mid 30s.
We're in our mid 20s, right? We're not low.
25. We started this mid 20s, I would argue. So, but yeah, we will be in our late 30s by the time that this Chiefs dynasty, assuming Pat Mahomes holds true and everything, is finished. The value behind a top 5 quarterback cannot be underestimated. That's why I'm saying it's going to cost an arm and a leg if I'm the Texans.
Yeah,
but the monkey wrench that could be thrown is DeShaun saying, I want out now.
Yeah, and it's bears to be mentioned. This is ongoing. I'm sure by the time we have this video up, there's going to be more information out.
Of course.
As we were recording, we got a notification on our phone that was talking about how Andre Johnson basically stuck up for Watson and said if he's Watson, he would do the exact same thing. DeAndre Hopkins chimed in on Twitter saying he absolutely agrees. So the players, for the most part, or at least the ones that are speaking out loud, are supporting Watson, and I think that's fair. I think that's right. Add into other minor things, J.J. Watt apologizing to Watson at the end of the year. That was heartbreaking a little bit. Look, I don't know what's going to happen. Obviously, I still think it's like 85% chance they keep Watson, and this ends up being null and void. Really? Okay. See, I'm happy to hear that because if it's lower than that, I think the Dolphins have the best chance to
Not going to say under 50 by any means, but I think the favorite is for DeShaun to stay just because if you were the Texans and you were smart, you will do what you can to appease your franchise star.
Yeah, agreed.
Say they fuck around and mess up somehow, he's out.
Yeah, I think they already have. Let's move on to another situation that's just rife with controversy. Pederson out.
Yeah.
January 11th. Yeah, Pederson gets fired by the Eagles. Looks like it was kind of a mutual parting ways a little bit. Obviously, Pederson was finally fired, but it's been described as parting ways because of a difference in opinion on power, directive, and impatient.
He wants to call the shots, bro.
Yeah,
that's
Pederson as the head coach. At the end of the day, he wants more power. Ends up won a Super Bowl with a backup quarterback, has been just destroyed with injuries the past couple of years that really, took them off guard. I got to say, I would have told you going into week 17, there was no way Pederson got fired no matter what happened. And it turns out, benching your backup quarterback for the third stringer and all these other things. Yeah, Pederson's gone. Ian Rappaport reported that it's largely just Pederson's dissatisfaction. And that had a big part of it. That was a surprise
behind it because I mentioned last week when we talked about this that there was a chance that Pederson could be gone because of how he...
I didn't think it was possible.
How he fumbled that situation in your locker room is everything, man. You're one coach versus 53 players that, you really have to feed into and get them going to be able to perform week in, week out. It's just, we haven't seen something like this. So there is a statue of Pederson and Nick Foles outside of Philly Stadium.
I forgot about that. You're right.
And both of them aren't there anymore. Yeah. That gave the franchise their first ever Super Bowl win. The city had to grease up the poles on the street so they wouldn't get destroyed. And they still got destroyed. That city partied up and down. And I've seen the majority of Eagles fans celebrating this.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to defend Pederson. It hasn't gone well. Wentz, I don't know what the debacle is behind that right now. I don't know his future in itself. I will defend Pederson saying injuries have been tragic.
Tough. Yeah.
Tragic.
And I will also say it's I think worth noting that it seems more likely that Carson Wentz stays now that Pederson's out. So apparently there were serious issues between Pederson and Carson. It looks like Pederson lost the locker room at the end of the day. I think that's the final straw that really hit it. And I think Pederson was probably smart, realizing, hey, I'm losing the locker room. Let me get out now. Let me get ahead of this. Yeah. And I might not have a chance to get a job.
Instead of being fired, I walk away.
Yeah, and you never want to be the coach that lost the locker room. I think you're out, and you really shouldn't get a second job if you do. But the Jets did it a couple of years ago when they hired Adam Gase after Gase lost the locker room in Miami. And now it's being reported that Pederson, the most likely landing spot is the Jets. There's connections there between the GM and Pederson. There's a lot of speculation out there that the Jets would be targeting Pederson here.
Man, I'm not going to hate on it as much as you will. I don't think you will, but just because I like the locker room in itself. Okay. I understand. No, I'm saying I'm not gonna pursue this from the route that Pederson completely lost the locker room.
Yeah,
I think that he made a bad choice. I think that he had some of the higher ups probably talking to him as to why they pulled Jalen. I can't get behind Pederson's thought. I don't believe him if he's saying that he's really evaluating. Who was their backup that night? Nate Sudfeld.
Yeah.
If that's your argument, then fuck out of here.
Yeah, no, like I do think he lost the locker room. I'm not saying he couldn't have gotten it back, by the way. I'm just saying he did lose it in week 17.
I think he was ready to go.
Yeah. The teammates were mad at him. The team is mad at him. Carson Wentz was mad at him. Now, I'm not saying those relationships couldn't have been repaired and he couldn't have moved forward with the Eagles. I don't know that. That's all speculation, me saying that he left ahead of the storm a little bit. But, that is what it is. I do think it's worth noting another thing that may have gone into this or may have gone into Pederson's dissatisfaction was Howie Roseman did force Pederson to fire their offensive coordinator, Matt Groh last year. This was last year. He did not want to do that, but he had to end up doing that. I would think if Pederson's smart, he sits for a year, lets his reputation build up as the guy who won a Super Bowl with a backup quarterback, and try and go get a job where he has ultimate power. I think that's probably what you do.
That's what he's wanting is ultimate power. Yeah, I think he's gonna have to wait just because there's a bad taste right now.
Yeah.
When you mention Pederson as a whole, but he still is a hot commodity on the coaching market.
I do. I absolutely agree.
He's an established name. Yes, the Eagles
could go a lot worse.
Trending down. Yeah, for sure. I mean, I'm not gonna sit here and say that the Jets taking him would be that detrimental of a thing. There's worse hires out there.
Yeah.
They've hired Adam Gase. We've seen worse.
I will say it's worth noting Frank Reich, I think, may have had more impact on that 2017 Eagles team than I think I realized at the time, or really anybody realized at the time. Once Frank Reich left, it felt like that offense definitely took a step back.
Colts fans are eating up Frank Reich right now, though.
Oh, yeah. Everyone's going to get mad at you.
That's my point in saying that sometimes you shouldn't let fans and the hot opinion dictate what happened, because they were coming at Frank Reich for a slow offense, for a slow attack, for going some bold coaching calls every now and then.
I don't think he did anything wrong.
I don't think he did anything wrong. I think he is the factor of hindsight 2020.
Yeah.
You go for two, you don't get it right there. Oh, you shouldn't have done that. But if you get it, you're still in that ball game and you're competing it's one of those things where it's getting really hot. Like Frank Reich, I completely agree with you. I think behind the scenes on that Eagles organization was a huge factor behind what was going on in that overall team success.
Yeah.
So, but it's just weird how the headlines transition.
Yeah, that's a great point, because you're absolutely right. And I don't think I realized that Frank Reich was getting shit.
A lot of Colts.
I saw a couple things. People were mad about him going for the touchdown, fourth and whatever. Saying that he was playing the whole
game like he was up 21 points was one thing that stuck out in particular.
Man, you had Phillip Rivers as your quarterback. What are you supposed to? I mean, I'm sorry, he can't push the ball down the field. I mean, it's not like that's not his skill set.
Limited in that regard.
I mean, we knew what the Colts were. When they're down, they're not going to win. I mean, that's just what they are, right? I mean, that's just my personal opinion, but that is what it is. We'll move on. This wasn't what Frank Reich's about.
No, of course.
Last thing on the Eagles, couple names to keep in mind that are being circulated. Deuce Staley, who is the running back coach / assistant head coach over the past couple of years. A buddy of mine who's a big Eagles fan, he actually said before Pederson got fired, we were talking about it, he wants Deuce Staley. He said before he got fired that Deuce Staley would be his pick, and after he got fired, Deuce Staley was one of the big names that started getting mentioned. Yeah, that's a big name around Philly. Lincoln Riley's another big name, which I feel like he's just going to be that guy who gets mentioned every single year for a couple of years. Yeah. Common names, Arthur Smith, Robert Saleh, the guy whose name I struggled with the other week and kind of got roasted with. And then, of course, Eric Bieniemy is going to be in the conversation with just about everybody. I saw one report, and I couldn't substantiate it. I couldn't get another one or find anybody else saying it, but I did see one report saying Adam Gase might be a front runner, and I don't believe it, but it's worth noting.
I hope not.
Yeah, I hope not for Eagles fans. That would be terrible. Again, the Eagles buddy of mine said that there will be rioting in the streets if that happened. I could not agree more.
Take what happened in the Super Bowl, but now turn it to where they're mad.
Take anger into it. All right, hey, let's move on. Let's move forward. The national championship last week. I thought it was last night. Excuse me. Yeah. I thought it was a great game. I ended up winning $50. I was pretty happy.
You did. You won your overall college bet. We bet. For those of you who don't know, we bet at the beginning of the season, even before that. Yeah. I said, give me Clemson, give me Ohio State to win it all. $50. John can have the field, not knowing that Mac Jones would really arise to the occasion. Devontae Smith would do what he did. And overall, listen, I still like my odds in the bet. Hey, I just had the misfortune of having Clemson, Ohio. I had two teams.
Yeah, you bet before the season started, and you got two teams that were in the national championship or were in the Final Four. Yeah, I think you were in a good spot.
That's a win.
Yeah,
that's not that bad.
Yeah, it is what it is. But
Bama dominated last night to end it all, though.
Yeah,
that's where it was.
Final score 52-24. Looked close for maybe the first quarter and a half, and then Ohio State really could never keep up. I don't think they were ever going to keep up. Big headlines. I just kind of want to go through them and get your thoughts, get some of our draft kind of thoughts out there, because we're turning into a draft podcast after the NFL season. Devontae Smith balled. He hurt his finger, which I really think he could have had 400 yards. Yeah, I think he definitely would have had 300 yards. He could have had 400 yards in this game if he doesn't hurt his finger. He was unfucking stoppable. It didn't look like they wanted to guard him. 12 catches on 13 targets. He hurt his finger on that 13th target, by the way. 215 yards and 3 touchdowns in about half a game.
Truly incredible.
Incredible. Absolutely incredible.
It is a spitting image of the performance that Jamar Chase put on when he hung 4 touchdowns. Was it Oklahoma or was it the actual championship game? I can't remember. That's how dominant that team was in saying, but Jamar Chase had a very similar performance. I think it was Oklahoma, actually.
Yes, I don't remember. I'll be honest
that's who they blew out, where Jamar Chase had a similar championship game performance to where that these are the guys.
Let's talk about this, because I know we agree on this. I know there's not going to be a great debate here, but there's serious conversation in the Twitter world. Devontae Smith or Jamar Chase as the number 1 wide receiver in the draft.
To me, it's Jamar Chase.
Yeah.
And I think the reason goes is that y'all forgot.
Yeah, I agree. Here's my thing, and this is my point. And after kind of I actually went back to my notes last night and just kind of looked at what I said about Justin Jefferson and Judy and all that. And with Justin Jefferson, one of my biggest fears about Justin Jefferson on my report, and I don't think I ever put this on camera or anything, but was that Justin Jefferson was clearly, very obviously, the number 2 receiver on his own team.
Of course.
And I was a little nervous. I thought Justin Jefferson was awesome. Justin Jefferson was my 4th receiver in the draft. I love Justin Jefferson's talent. I was a big fan. He's obviously very good in the NFL.
But Jamar
Chase was better, and it was clear. It wasn't like, I think Jamar Chase was the better wide receiver on that team, in my opinion. Move over to Bama. Obviously, watched Judy, watched Ruggs. Devontae Smith obviously didn't get as much of an opportunity as Jamar Chase did, and I will say it was very clear. You watched the film, you knew there were 4 first-round wide receivers on that 2019 Bama roster. But I don't think Devontae Smith ever outshined Judy. And I will also say, just watching Devontae Smith over the past couple of weeks, Devontae Smith over the last couple of weeks, he is so much better than he was last year. Like, his route running is smooth. I mean, he's just a better wide receiver in general. So I get why people might say it's close, but to me, at the end of the day, it's still Jamar Chase. Unless Jamar Chase has just been eating hamburgers and
of course,
and fucking around for a year, I just don't see how. I think Devontae Smith deserves to be a top 15 pick in the draft, and I think he'll be great in the NFL. But I think Jamar Chase, in my opinion, has a chance to be an all-time great. I mean, that's really his ceiling. Well,
Devontae does too. Devontae really had to fight, through a lot of adversity about being undersized, being skinny.
That's another thing with Smith,
all the way. I mean, you see him, he's a really lengthy guy with his arms and stuff, but he almost looks comical. I saw a picture that it was, I think Sports Nation tweeted out, and it was a picture of I think Devontae Smith's 175 pounds soaking wet.
Yeah,
but
I think
arms
he's like
down to his
160
knees,
actually. Yeah,
and they said, "Imagine this guy wins the Heisman." They were playing a joke. He doesn't look the part, but
he doesn't.
The way that he plays, his instincts, he doesn't. Like, I've seen a lot of people say that he doesn't have physical traits that pop off.
See, I don't know.
But when you watch the guy play,
yeah.
it speaks for itself. Now, going back to Jamar Chase, I think he checks every single box on the physical traits ability and the on the field, on the tape ability.
Yeah.
I think people have forgotten. That's what it comes down to.
I think
Devontae Smith, it's close. It's going to be another one of those. What was it last year? CeeDee Lamb, Henry Ruggs. I
don't think it's as close. I don't think it's as close because I don't either.
Because you and I think it's Jamar clear.
Yeah, because you and I were both on the CeeDee Lamb over Judy, and a lot of people disagreed with us, which is
Ruggs
okay.
Ended up going first.
Yeah, exactly. But I mean, I think that I don't think it's as close as those two, and I don't think it'll end up being this close. But I understand national championship, people are going to talk, so I wanted to bring that up. That was worth noting. A couple other things to note.
Both great wide receivers. Yeah, I want to put my name besides that. And not say that Devontae, just because I think Jamar Chase is the clear number one doesn't mean that Devontae Smith will not compete and do great in the NFL.
Yeah,
but
100% agree.
Chase is it.
100% agree. All right, Mac Jones went 36 for 45, 464 yards and 5 touchdowns. Put up video game numbers a little bit, and he did that after he got hurt in like the third quarter or something. The game was already over, but I thought that was interesting as well. Does this change anything for Mac Jones?
Listen, I'm going to be honest. I am going to have to go back because I'm an Auburn fan. I don't particularly keep my eyes on Alabama when it comes to a scouting lens until I have to after the season.
Yeah.
That's why I say I'm going to do my due diligence. I'm going to go back.
Wait to say something.
Because I should, though, because Mac Jones does deserve this much. I see a lot of people already writing him off and saying, oh, it's Alabama, good numbers, blah, 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 QB6. Yeah. Listen, we do need to do our due diligence and give him a fair evaluation and see these numbers are absurd.
Off the charts. Look, and you said it best. I'm glad you said that because I think I was probably going to get a little mean there for a second. So I'm glad you said you're right. I think I need to do the same
Mac
thing.
Jones not being anything.
I think I need to do the same thing. We've talked about how we're not sure about Mac Jones. So you're absolutely right. We actually planned on making that this episode. We wanted to talk about the quarterbacks, but all this stuff happened with the Texans and Eagles, and we thought, look, we can push the quarterback conversation back a couple weeks.
There'll be a lot of talk.
So there's plenty of time for that. So that podcast is coming where we're going to spend 35 to maybe even an hour just talking about these quarterbacks. I think we need to go back
solely because in my head, I had already wrote him off solely because of the talent that surrounds him and everything.
Yeah.
But then again, we had Tua last year that was a top 5 pick. And yes, that was one of both of our actually, whenever we scouted him was, a knock to him was the talent around him, seeing Alabama open, NFL open, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
So, but I got to go back because right now, okay, no, not right now. Before last night, Mac Jones was my QB5, QB6. After this game, it showed me I need to go back.
Okay, fair enough. Hey, I think that's great. That's awesome. Let's move on to Najee Harris, 178 yards from scrimmage, 3 touchdowns. You texted me during the game about him. Where are you thinking about him?
RB1.
You think it's RB1? He's not RB1.
Listen, looking at his growth from last year Alabama.
Yeah.
Last year Alabama, he reminded me of Mark Ingram. He reminded me of straight up downhill.
Okay.
I mean, I'm not looking at numbers on the chart, physical stuff. I'm saying their running style, the one cut, the pop you in the mouth, look for contact thing.
Yeah.
Now, Najee has truly evolved his game going into, when you look at week 1 of the season all the way to where it ended. His lateral quickness is absolutely absurd for a guy of his size.
Yeah.
It is insane the way that he is able to, catch the ball out of the backfield now. That's one of the knocks that where I would say that the NFL is leaning towards a Travis Etienne kind of back.
Yeah.
Versus I think Najee closed the gap on that.
Really? Okay.
So it is up for debate. In my opinion, Najee is RB1. I like his mentality. I love his ability. His physical traits are crazy, man.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong. Etienne's up there. I know you like Etienne.
Yeah, no, look, I do think, look, Harris and Etienne are going to be the 1-2. So everything negative I'm about to say about Harris, take it with.
We said that last year, though, with Dobbins and DeAndre Swift. And
that's
then
what we thought.
Came up. And
Look, I get it. And look, things are going to change. I'm going through the running backs now. I do have Harris significantly lower than Etienne. The way I grade running backs is it's a good percentage below, honestly. But Etienne's in a class of his own, I believe. And the reason for that is because you know my system. The way I grade any player is I divide it into skills. I give a percentage of importance on each skill, and I do it that way. I kind of built my own program to do that. And Harris has certain traits that are lacking. I did a whole 17-minute video on it. You can check it on YouTube if you're interested in that. We don't have to get into that right now. I totally get what you're saying. Some of his physical ability is something that NFL teams are going to value. I liken him very similar to a Derrick Henry, but I do think, like you said, he has more lateral quickness coming out.
Yes.
But I will say,
the man can sidestep 6 yards and accelerate. He's the fastest guy on the field sometimes. Yeah,
when he has a chance to get up to top speeds, my serious issue with him is he does have a build-up speed. He doesn't have that short area quickness as far as like get the ball and just burst through the hole. Sometimes he misses open holes because he's just not quite fast enough to get there in his first couple steps. His top speed is as fast as anybody on the field. So like you said, I do agree with that. But again, Derrick Henry's very similar to that. So that doesn't mean he can't be really fucking good in the NFL. All right, so let's move on here. Jalen Waddle's the last guy on Alabama that I think we need to talk about. Jalen Waddle clearly hurt last night. The fact that Nick Saban let him play in that game, I think Patrick Mahomes said it best on Twitter. You have to protect the players sometimes. Protect the player from themselves. Jalen Waddle was hurt, injured himself on like his first catch, and you could see in pregame. I even saw the announcers like getting excited about his pregame runs. It's like, oh, he looks fast, and it's like, no, he's limping really bad on his run. Like it didn't look good. He was clearly hurt. Broke his ankle in the season. Came back. I've nothing more to say other than he proved how tough he is. I'm so excited for him in the NFL. I'm so sad for him that Devontae Smith is getting all the love and Waddle isn't getting respected the way he deserves, because Waddle is absolutely a top end wide receiver, and he's going to be that in the NFL. I believe that wholeheartedly. I think, coming into this year, I thought he was on the same level as Devontae Smith. Maybe he's not. Maybe he's a little bit, tier down. Still really, really good either way.
Man, I don't even think he's a tier down.
Okay, see, I'm glad you said that. I'm glad you said that because I agree. Yeah,
Jalen Waddle was the guy last year. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, I absolutely agree.
You talked about like last year Alabama team.
Yeah.
You talked about Ruggs. You talked about Judy. And you talked about Waddle. Yeah. Devontae Smith was the 4. He was a great 4. And now it's Mechie on their guy when you have Waddle, Devontae Smith. There's always next man up.
Of course.
But before the ankle injury, Jalen Waddle was a dynamic force.
I'm super glad you said that because I really believe.
I didn't want you to back off from it.
Yeah, no, I kind of hedged.
I think that if there is a combine this year going COVID and all that stuff, they're able to get it done. I hope they are, because we desperately need it this year based on the way football's been. Jalen Waddle shows up and he has the potential to smash the 40 record. Yeah. He really does. Yeah. He is electric. And if he smashes it, he's going before Devontae Smith. Yeah. Heisman or not. Devontae Smith, electric in all the ways too when it comes to actual on the field playing, the stats, all that good stuff. But don't forget about Jalen Waddle. Don't forget about what he possesses, what he can do. Last night, I don't think he should have played though.
Yeah, I agree.
Last night he was hurt. It was sad to watch in some ways. Yeah, he proved his grit, his toughness, and I'm glad he didn't re-aggravate.
Yeah, well, he did a little bit, but I don't think it was long term.
No, it's not going to be detrimental to him. But if he would have truly hurt again, and there was some GMs watching. They were just like, why?
Yeah,
like come on now.
There are players watching for sure saying why.
Just like don't do it, dude. Know your worth.
Yeah, no, I absolutely agree. Let's move on really quick to Ohio State. I don't want to spend a ton of time on the players. We gave our time to the winner basically. Justin Fields. I hope that nobody grades him on this performance. He was injured. And look, I'm not the biggest Justin Fields fan. I question. I
admire you for saying that.
Yeah, but I 100% believe he does not deserve to be judged on this game. Go back, watch the film when he's healthy. Watch the Clemson game before he got hurt. Even after he got hurt, it looked pretty good.
Because the narrative after this game was that
it's going to be bad. Look, 17 completions for 33 attempts, 194 yards and a touchdown. Really couldn't get anything going against Bama. He was hurt, man. You could tell he was hurt. I hope he doesn't get judged for this. I hope that at the very least, I'm probably going to do a draft profile on him, or, we'll do that at some point down the line. And I hope that anybody else doing similar things that I'm doing would not take the film against Alabama and grade him harshly against it. I know I'm not. I'm throwing this game out as far as
you can look at it, just don't evaluate it.
Yeah, I'm not evaluating it. Yeah, exactly. That's what I mean. I'm saying I'm throwing this game out as far as how I'm going to grade him and what his final grade is going to be. I'm not going to base his performance tonight on it because I do think he was hurt. So I just want to put that out there.
I'm about to be a negative Nelly.
Oh, that's fair. Yeah.
I think last night was the fall of many Ohio State players' stock. In saying Wyatt Davis, unfortunately, it looks like you tore your ACL. That was a fringe day one offensive lineman for me.
Yeah,
that was a guy that
sad, yeah.
Vikings picking, somewhere in the draft. I was hoping that there was a chance we may take him. I think he is potential elite talent on the offensive line. Yeah. Justin Fields, like you said, the popular opinion is to knock him for it. I don't personally, so we're going to go off of that, but popular opinion, knock him. Mm-hmm. And then Shaun Wade, burnt toast. Absolute burnt toast.
Crushed.
That's your second game in a row, too, because you had Amari Rodgers for Clemson who put you on your butt a few times in that, too, and that's on film. So that doesn't look good as is. And then there's one more guy who was a running back that was flying up my rankings, and Trey Sermon, that had the unfortunate, looks like a collarbone injury.
Yeah.
It's not going to kill him at the end of the day, but you texted me whenever he got hurt and said, does it affect his draft stock? I don't think the injury is going to linger in any means, but he needed what Master T was able to get last night in that the platform as a whole.
He needed to show what he could do.
He needed those games against Alabama to be able to show that that's what he can do against elite talent. Unfortunately, man, it got cut on. I think it was the first play.
It was the very first play of the game. Yeah, it's very unfortunate. First play from just scrimmage.
Yeah, that's what sucks is that injury. Go into it. I think some Ohio State guys lost some draft stock last night.
I think it's
Sean
fair.
Wade was play
based. Yeah, look, I feel bad for some of them. Sean Wade, look, I'm happy for the teams that saw this that aren't going to draft him in the first round because he proved he's not that. Maybe that's unfair to say, but at the end of the day,
I think he'd still be late. But yeah, man,
he struggled.
Well, and especially when you evaluate a first round corner versus a first round wide receiver.
Look, and I'm sure all week he put himself in that position. He wanted to prove he was the best. He got hurt. He struggled. And look, I haven't watched the film. Maybe he was not.
He called Devontae Smith out.
Yeah, exactly. But I'm saying
he said where he goes, I go.
Exactly. So, but I'm saying I haven't watched the film. I don't know if maybe he was in zone coverages or something, and maybe it wasn't all his fault. I don't know that, but it just from watching the TV copy, it did not look good at all.
Yeah.
Last thing on this game, and just something that's been circulating that I think is worth noting. Is this the best college football team ever? This Alabama team?
No.
Yeah, I agree.
No, it's not, and it sucks because you would want someone to have that debate.
Yeah, I can't.
And argue on behalf of it.
It's not even close to me.
Man, I go look at last year. Did they had Tua for that game, didn't they? In the last year's game?
In last year's championship?
No, they didn't have it in LSU.
No.
So I'm saying Bama versus LSU last year.
Yeah, Tua was in that game. Tua was in that game. Yeah, he got hurt the week later.
Yeah, top 5 quarterback. Yeah. You have Henry Ruggs, Jerry Jeudy. You still have these 2 stud receivers that are out there now, and you still have Najee. You still have Patrick Surtain. Every single piece that was there, yes, add a year onto it, but that we got to see that match.
Yeah, this Bama
That's
team.
How I felt.
This Bama team wasn't even as good as last year's Bama team, and last year's LSU team is, in my personal opinion, one of the best college teams I've ever seen. I get the
stats point to Bama being better though. Bama averages a 0.2 points higher per game on average. Listen, it's going to suck because I'm going to use COVID as an excuse. We saw a lot of teams, defensively especially, have a really slow start and struggle early on. And that's just kind of the way that I thought that Nick Saban and the Alabama football team adjusted this year and said, we'll hang 60 on you.
Fair enough. Hey, I absolutely agree with you. We have about 10 minutes before we hit an hour.
LSU number one best.
LSU number one best. Let's get into the Final Four, of the NFL games. The divisional round of the playoffs here. We're just going to go through the games. Saturday, first game on Saturday is Rams-Packers. Packers host the Rams, who obviously surprised the Seahawks. I know I didn't expect the Rams to beat the Seahawks. No. Did you pick? You didn't either. Okay, good.
I thought about it because of Aaron Donald.
You did. I remember that. Aaron Donald got hurt. Hopefully he's back for this game. So what are your first thoughts here? I'm going to pull it up because I don't have it yet on the odds.
No, I know it's a cold game.
Yes.
I know it's a cold game at Lambeau, and I know who is ready to play cold games at Lambeau, and that's Aaron Rodgers, MVP. Aaron Rodgers takes care of this game. I don't even think it's an issue. And when you start looking at how the Rams fare in those elements, it does not point in their favor either. Last year, the Packers kind of struggled, whenever it came to the playoffs. They hit that slump. They had a really good season, and they got put out real quick.
Yeah.
This year, I think the Packers on that second year, they're ready to go. They're going to get past this one.
Yeah. All right, let me pull this up. The Packers are favored by 6.5 right now. I think that's a close one. I would probably take the Packers to cover. Just to layer onto your point on the cold game. Goff has played in 2 games below 30 degrees in his entire career. 34.5 passer rating, 47% completion, 0 to 5 touchdown to interception ratio.
Oh.
So struggled in cold games. Obviously, we know Aaron Rodgers is very, very good. We agree on this.
He's used to Lambeau.
Yeah, I think the Packers are rolling. The only way I see them losing this game is if maybe they just took that week off and it took away their momentum. I don't see any way the Packers lose this game. At 6.5, I could see the Rams covering. I could see it being close like that. I just, at the end of the day, I think maybe you could say, hey, Cam Akers has come on really, really strong the past couple of weeks, and the Packers, if they do have a weakness on that defense, it is the run game. So I think that's going to be the goal.
We're painting a picture of defeat, the Rams show up and let Jared Goff make the high efficient play action throws that we know that he's capable of. Let your elite defense contain a flat come out just stagnant Packers offense. There's a way.
Yeah, and the other part of it is Jalen Ramsey will be on Devontae Smith the entire game. What can the rest? Devontae Adams. Again, we talk about Devontae Smith the whole time. Devontae Adams the entire game, and what can the rest of the Packers' weapons do against the rest of the Rams defense?
Hard to show up.
Exactly.
How many times have we seen
exactly?
that?
and look, I do think if Aaron Donald misses this game, it's not close. I think I would really look at that. If Aaron Donald misses this game, they are really going to struggle. I mean, Aaron Donald's just a difference maker at the end of the day.
Fun fact, one thing. There, for the first time in NFL history, we have seen a guy already play a playoff game and lose, about to go play another one. Left tackle Jared Veldheer got, the Colts season ended. The Packers were able to sign him because he was a member of the Packers practice squad at the beginning of the year. So he just lost a playoff game with the Colts. Now he is going to go be a member of the Packers and continue his playoff run.
Wow. That's crazy.
First time ever.
So they can only do that because he was already on the practice squad.
Because he was on the practice squad.
That's
Colts signed him off of it. Season's over. Packers can pick him up.
That's funny. I didn't know that. That's a good one.
It's kind of a fun fact.
Yeah, that's a super fun fact. All right. Next game we're going to talk about here. Let me pull it up. I lost it. I apologize. Browns Chiefs on Saturday night. This is what we have right here. I have Patrick Mahomes. You have the Browns.
And I got the guy who hit you with a helmet.
I swear. It wasn't Mahomes that hit him with the helmet.
No, this guy hit people with helmets.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
All right. So where are you at with this? I'm going to let you go first.
Yeah, listen, I like the Browns. I love the energy that they played that game with. I will say that the Steelers dug themselves a fucking 12-foot hole and then decided to try to start playing. And even if you're the Cleveland Browns and all your negative history, even you can't blow that lead right there that was given to you.
And I'll give the Browns the credit.
The Browns played well.
Yeah, they came up. They were stagnant offensively, I would say, for a couple, maybe a quarter between the second and third quarter, a quarter's worth of game time, where the Steelers maybe had a chance. But I think in the third quarter, they put the game away by going down, scoring a touchdown, really putting it out of reach. I think
when the Chiefs saw that the Browns won that game, they were smiling from ear to ear.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be a very easy game for the Chiefs to take. I don't know about the points in itself.
Too many.
Just saying, 10 is a lot. 10 is a lot for a divisional playoff game.
We got to put a shot bet on it, though. You're sitting here repping the Browns. You're not going to bet on the Browns? You're repping the Browns.
Can I have more?
You want more than 10 points?
I want 12.5.
You want 12.5? I'll give you 11.5.
You're seriously gonna gonna tug me on that?
I don't want to give you 10.
Really?
Yes, that's a lot of points in the NFL.
Pat Mahomes, Travis Kelce, Tyreek Hill, blah blah blah.
I know who's on their team. Yeah. Oh, my bad.
Baker Mayfield. I mean, there's a chance that he may not show up. Yeah. I don't know what's gonna happen with that. You're not gonna get 12.5.
All right, we'll find another bet. That's okay.
We have a 3-shot bet, 12.5.
We'll find another bet. I don't want to give you 12.
What?
I ain't giving you 12.5. We'll bet on the Bucks Saints. I know you're going to root for your Bucks.
I do.
Yeah, exactly.
Tom Brady.
We'll move on. Look,
Chiefs win that game.
Chiefs win that game. I would bet on the Browns to cover, though. I really would. We'll move on to the Sunday games here. Ravens Bills.
Very good game.
I will go first. I'm most excited for this game. I think this game will be an absolute. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. I don't know who's going to win. I lean Ravens just because they've been on an absolute tear the past couple of weeks. Bills kind of looked like they might lose to the Colts for a minute there against the
sort of. They had some weird
first
calls,
second.
though. Yeah,
they did. And look, the Ravens. I think you could probably say the same thing. But the Ravens have just been on a tear. I'm going to take the team that has been hot. They're both been very, very hot. I think I don't know. I'm going to go. I don't like saying this. I'm going to go Lamar Jackson over Allen. I don't know. Man, I don't know. I don't know. I wouldn't bet on this game.
I'm the same spot. I'm not touching this.
Yeah.
I am willing to bet that they have a boosted bet come out on this game because of how few people are going to touch these odds.
Yeah, this is a tough one.
It's a coin flip. It's a crapshoot. It's a what team wants to show up and want it more.
Yeah.
I have seen that out of the Ravens more recently.
Yeah.
Because
can they go into
playoff.
the Buffalo
against
those fans in the cold weather? I mean, but they're a ground and pound run first football team versus a high flying pass team. I don't know in the playoffs. I don't know. I'm leaning Ravens, but I could if the Bills win, I'm not going to say you're surprised.
I'm going Josh Allen solely on the fact that I really like Bills Mafia. I really like what the Bills are putting together, but the Ravens are letting Lamar loose.
All right.
And I thought they did it too little too late. We spoke about that whenever they were a 7-win team struggling fringe playoff.
They were struggling. Yeah,
they
almost
let it loose. Ever since Lamar took a shit mid-game, undefeated.
Yes.
There you go.
All right, last game of the week, Buccaneers Saints. I'm going to give my 2 cents here first. I will argue. I will say
you're just the easy 2 cents.
It is really, really tough to beat a team 3 times in the NFL. I do think the Saints are going to do that. The Saints had the Bucs number I mean, all off season they crushed the Bucks week 1, I believe, and then mid season Saints come in and they crush the Bucks again. I think Tom Brady has 5 of his 12 interceptions against the Saints. Yes. So it's not pretty.
One of his only 0 touchdown games on the year too.
Yeah. So I think the Saints are going to do exactly what they've done before. I understand the Bucks are going to come out and try and play things differently. I don't know how many. The Bucks are not a multiple team. They can't play that many different styles of football offensively anyway. I don't think. I think they are what they are, and they're really fucking good at what they do. The Saints match up well against them. I think the Saints win this game.
Yeah. It's hard for me to pick the Bucks here. It truly is because of the Saints' success. Again, it's not like they won, close games. It's not like they got 2 field goals in there. They dominated. Marshawn Lattimore, I'm pretty sure, held Mike Evans to 1 catch in 2 games played against him, and that is an elite wide receiver weapon.
Yeah.
And if you're able to shut that down against Brady, Saints have an elite defensive line. They have a good secondary. They have an offense that can keep you off the field. And props to Drew Brees last week. Yeah, the first half against the Saints Bears looked very boring, very dull. But
you didn't like watching that Nickelodeon graphics, bro?
Yeah, I know. Sometimes whenever they had the young Sheldon explaining what a holding was, it was cool. I like that. Drew Brees had an over 70% completion percentage, highest on the year. It was sometimes boring to watch, but that's the way that the Saints are going to beat you. He's a surgeon. He's going to carve you up. He's not going to hit you for 35 on a post route down the middle anymore, but he'll hit you 5 underneath 8 times in a row.
Yeah.
And then you still have the Kamara effect. Who knows what's going to happen? I'm going to take Brady because it is the GOAT effect. I think that the Bucks in the 3 times, that's the same reason I picked the Ravens versus Titans.
Yeah.
How do you
beat a team 3 times in a row? Yeah.
That's tough. You're almost due.
Yeah.
And this is 3 times in 1 year. Bucks.
All right.
Man, I don't feel confident in saying it. I'll put our shots on it, though.
I'll give you 3 points with it.
Yeah, that's fair. I want the line.
All right, cool. All right, bet. That's our 3-shot bet. I think that's it. We hit right under an hour. Guys, thank you so much for watching. If you are watching on the Underdog Podcast Network, give them a subscribe. Then go over and check out Between the Pylons on YouTube. Give us a subscribe too. We are doing draft profiles twice a week up until the NFL draft. We have a lot of draft content that's going to come out. So if you're interested in any of that, please subscribe and check that out. Thank you so much for watching, guys. Peace out.
Thank you, guys. Seb.